Welcome to Local Matters. I'm Ken Moore, and today we have a show that will be difficult to listen to, but I hope that it affects you in a way that makes a difference. So with that introduction, I'd like to introduce you to my guest today. I have with me Marty Crook, the Northwest Secretary of Soroptimists, the Regional Secretary, also a member of the Local Soroptimists Club. Thank you for being here. And Savina Falquist, Executive Director of Henderson House, also a member of the Local Soroptimists Club.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about Soroptimist. Marty, you joined a long time ago. Tell us a little bit about why and what Soroptimist is about.
Okay, well, Soroptimist, actually when people hear Soroptimist, they always ask me what that means. So Soroptimist means best for women. And I joined about 18 years ago, and I just wanted to do something to give back to my community. And I thought this was the perfect organization because our focus is on improving the lives of women and girls. And so I thought that would be the perfect fit for me to get in there and do something meaningful to help the women and girls in our community.
And when you started, there was a program called Bear Hugs you were telling me about. Would you tell us about that?
Actually, that's one of the projects that Soroptimist actually helped start Bear Hugs many years ago. It was actually before I started, but it's a program at the high school for young girls who have children so that they can learn to be better mothers, and the fathers can be involved too, and they have a daycare there, and we helped start that program at the high school many years ago. That's just one of the projects that we've done. We've been involved in many things, but that's one of the things that we're most proud of.
Wonderful. Savina, tell us a little bit about how you got involved in Soroptimist.
I've been aware of Soroptimists for about the last 10 years. Started in Clark County, Washington. I was kind of a part of, I wasn't a member, but I was affiliated. Lots of different projects that were supported by Soroptimist. And actually, back in 2011, I was a recipient of a Soroptimist Award to be able to go to college. And then I've nominated other folks, and so I've kind of been affiliated with Soroptimists for years, and then joined the McMinnville Soroptimist. It's been about 4 months ago. So, excited.
And would you tell us a little bit about your job at Henderson House? What is Henderson House?
Henderson House is the local domestic violence sexual assault organization. We have two facilities. We have the Advocacy Center, which is where our offices are. We do our groups and just all of the public community-based services, and that's on First and Ford. And then we also have a confidential shelter. That's an emergency 30-day shelter for anybody who's experienced domestic violence in the last 6 months and is fleeing. And so we have community-based advocacy. So we go out and we pair advocates with individuals and families, and they just provide wraparound services to support that individual and family. And then the shelter is really focused on immediate crisis intervention and housing, but then transitioning out in more sustainable long-term services. And we have a gamut. Our website has a whole list of different things that we provide and that we do.
Well, I think you should come back on another show, and we will talk about Henderson House. That's quite a lot of service that you do, and I'd like to learn more about it.
Great.
Today, what we've come here to talk about is one of the projects of Soroptimist, and that is addressing and raising the awareness to help diminish domestic minor sex trafficking.
That's right. Yeah, several years ago, probably around 2007 or so, a bunch of us from our local club attended our district meeting for Soroptimist here in Oregon. So we all get together as clubs, and one of our speakers was someone from the FBI task force on trafficking. And that was the first introduction that our club members and most all Soroptimists had to the subject of trafficking. So we were all absolutely shocked and dumbfounded, but right away we knew that this is a subject that we had to become involved in because of our focus on helping women and girls. It was a perfect fit for our organization, so we thought that we need to do something about it. And because it's such a widespread issue, though, you look at the issue of trafficking in general, and it's so huge, it's like overwhelming. You're like, what can anyone do about it? Because it's worldwide, $150 billion industry. How can any little local service club do anything, or even an international organization such as us? How can we even make a dent in that? So we decided at our local level that the specific area of trafficking we would focus in on is domestic minor sex trafficking.
Take me back to that meeting in 2007. When you heard this, you said it was jaw-dropping.
Yes, absolutely.
What do you remember hearing that absolutely just took you aback?
Just in general, that there is slavery in the world today. That was the thing, because that's what it is. Sex trafficking, or any trafficking, is a form of modern day slavery. And who would have thought it, that could actually be happening in this modern world, that one person could force another person to do something for their profit. I mean, that we were all just totally dumbfounded.
Now, was another aspect of it, yes, this goes on in the world, but I think you were telling me you were surprised to find out that it happens in the U.S.
Oh, yeah.
And in this free country, how can slavery exist?
Yeah, you would wonder, you wouldn't think that it could be possible, but it happens every day. There's even labor trafficking still is alive and well in the United States. And there are bunches of ways that the traffickers can force people or trick people into working for them, and specifically prostitution or domestic minor sex trafficking with young children is a fairly easy thing for people who are motivated to be able to do. And it's happening in the United States. It's very prevalent, and especially in the Pacific Northwest, believe it or not. We're one of the most, we have more trafficking than most other states. There's only a couple other states that are worse than Oregon on domestic minor sex trafficking.
Our Oregon is
Our-
one of the worst states in sex
Yes.
trafficking.
And that's partly because we have the I-5 corridor, where it's easy to transport back and forth across borders and just, up and down. And Portland, of course, it's the port city too, lots of things going in and out there. But also Portland being a huge hub for strip clubs, and just the sex industry in general is very prevalent in Portland. And so that makes us very, it's a very big thing here in Oregon.
So is it just a Portland problem, Savina? Can we just worry about it out there, let them worry about it?
No, it's a worldwide problem. And it's progressively getting worse.
Is it a McMinnville problem?
I think that we're not seeing that through Henderson House. I think that question is probably best posed for our local law enforcement. I haven't heard that as far as the industry style of trafficking goes in McMinnville, I'm not hearing reports of that. That doesn't mean it's not happening. What we hear more about is probably survival trafficking, which is individuals who are trafficking themselves or children for drugs or alcohol or maybe housing, basic needs. It's a survival trafficking. There is pornography, which is also a form of trafficking of children, and that's everywhere. You're not going to get away from that. The one thing I do want to say about the prevalence and why it keeps growing is that when you have a drug trafficker, they have a bag of dope, they sell the bag of dope, it's gone. When you have a person you can sell that person over and over and over again, and they are a continual source of income for as long as they live or for as long as you have them captured. And so it's something that people should think about when we go into talking about trafficking, because it is a $150 billion industry a year. When I started doing this work back in '08, it was 52 billion. So it's growing. Yeah.
I did some reading about this, and you talked about that bag of dope being gone, but if there's an arrest made, that dope doesn't go away, it stays as evidence of that transaction. But if there's an arrest made of a pimp with his victim, oftentimes that victim won't talk. And so the bag of dope talks, but this is speaking to this problem that this won't be evidence. The evidence is very hard to come by because oftentimes, well, tell me about that. Why won't the victim talk?
Fear, most of the time. They've been told that that they're the one that's going to go to jail. So if they're arrested, they think they're the one that's going to go to jail and that their pimp won't go to jail. And so that's one thing. Then there's also fear of reprisal. I mean, that the pimp will beat them or take something away from them, or fear of them hurting their family member or something like that. So they've got them scared. The pimps have got the girls terrified for their lives, and so that's why they're not going to talk. And there's also shame, of course. They don't want to be involved in testifying, because then they have to go through all that, and everybody in their family has to know about it, and many reasons. But the girls, it's mostly fear and shame why they don't want to talk, and then they've got them convinced they can't get away and that they have to do what they want them to do. And so
There's another piece to that too. A big percentage of the minors who are being trafficked are what the catchphrase is throwaway kids, and that would be kids who are living on the streets, in the foster care system, kids who don't have a family unit to go to. And so they're very vulnerable, and those are typically the prey for a lot of these traffickers. And they groom them. The pimps groom them to be like a father figure or to be like a boyfriend. And so there's a bond that's formed psychologically with intent with these young girls and some boys, but to feel like that's their life source, that's their partner, that's the love of their life, that's the person who's protecting them. And so when you have vulnerable children who don't have a family unit and don't have the support system or options to be able to fall back on, these predatory pimps are looking for that, and there's a bond there. And so that's why they're difficult cases, because they don't want to tell on them because they love them.
So the victim, the young girl, thinks that she loves her pimp.
yeah, most of the time.
He might be the one person that's there for her, even though he's hurting her and harming her and putting her out on the streets and in very volatile situations. Their lens is skewed. They think that person is still the only one there for them.
So Marty, let's back up a little bit. How does this, we're here, this show is to raise awareness about this. So let's start with, how does this start? How does a young girl become a victim? What does it look like, so that people can know what that looks like and be aware of it? Can you describe that?
Well, I would say that these girls are, in most cases, very vulnerable and lacking some kind of support or some kind of what they feel of that maybe a low self-esteem. They have low self-esteem and they're lacking support and some kind of good connection in their life. And so they're vulnerable. And the pimps are actually going out all the time on a daily basis looking for young, vulnerable girls. And when they find the potential one that they think looks good, I guess, that looks vulnerable, then they have a process of grooming them, which is usually telling them the things that they need to hear, such as how pretty they are, or just giving them gifts. And then they convince them that they're their boyfriend or that they love them. And then they just lavish them with all kinds of attention and give them all these things. And pretty soon, and they really truly are charming. Most of these guys are very charming, and they know what they are doing. They've been doing it a lot, and they just continue to work until this girl is convinced that this person loves her and that she loves him then. And then they get involved in a sexual relationship, and then that's where the controlling starts, really, is as soon as she becomes in a sexual relationship with them, and then they can take it to the next level, and then they start asking her to perform sex acts with other people, and then there's force and consequences if she doesn't do it, and that kind of thing.
Let me back up a little bit to, I think we were talking earlier about, before the interview, where these things often take place. Mm-hmm. There are kind of places where these pimps go looking.
Sure. Well, let's say, for instance, anywhere that you'll find young kids around, like a mall, for instance, is a really good place for them to go. Specifically for, like, when they're looking for, they'll also be at places like, say, the bus station. They're looking for runaway kids, perhaps, at a place like that. But really, it's anywhere young kids will be, like, say, a carnival or a sporting event, or just, out hanging out at the bowling alleys, just different places that kids will congregate is where you'll find these guys. Because that's their job. Their job is to find more girls, because the more girls they have, the more money they're going to make. I was looking at a statistic the other day that if a pimp has 4 girls that he's using in this way, he can make over $600,000 a year of under the table, tax-free, all for him money. So the more they have, the more they're going to make. And it's a big gang industry too. There's a lot of organized crime involved in this because of all the money that can be made.
Yes, gang activity. I was reading that gangs often have kind of stopped fighting with each other because they're doing so well. There's not really turf to fight over. That the gang-on-gang violence goes down as they are successful in human trafficking, sex trafficking.
They can. I've heard that they trade girls between gangs for whatever reason, So they cooperate in some ways with each other.
So when gangs start cooperating, that's even worse.
That's not a good sign. Yeah.
Okay, so we've looked a little bit about where this might happen, why this might happen. You had talked about children that aren't in a stable home situation. We talk a lot about, in McMinnville, when we do our homeless count, we try to count homeless youth that are couch surfing. And I guess I never really put it together. Yeah, couch surfing is, well, at least they have a warm couch to sleep on, but if you don't have a parent that's concerned about that individual, they're at risk. Is that what you were saying? So we're here today to raise awareness. And we were talking about, well, what can we do? This is a billion-dollar industry. There's supply and there's demand. Let's look at maybe a third thing we were talking about was people that are aware, observing what's going on around them. Can you tell us a little bit about what you were talking about there?
Yeah, so as a community member, a family member, a friend, what we can do is we can raise our awareness to some of the risk factors and some of the vulnerable factors that would create an opportunity for this. And when you talk about couch surfing, for me, doing the work I do, this person has just moved up the continuum of risk. Whether it's for trafficking or just being preyed on by, it could be an adult predatory person, I guess, or really inappropriate age differences for, say, a 14-year-old girl and a 25-year-old male. These things really do happen within the homeless population and street kids. But when you have addiction and other things happening, those are things that as family members and friends and community, we should be looking at our vulnerable populations and assessing how are they getting their needs met? Are they able to get their needs met? How are they surviving? And who's there to catch them? Because if there's a flop house in Dayton and all these kids are kind of hanging out at this house, maybe that's a safe, supportive environment. I don't know. But it potentially could be a risky environment. There could be people there preying on young people for the fact that they're really vulnerable. And children who are in care with someone who's addicted to drugs and very much into their addiction and will do whatever it takes, those children are at risk of being trafficked for those drugs or being trafficked for a warm place to stay that night or for groceries or whatever that looks like. And so as family members and community members, if we know that, we can just be aware of it. And if we see something that makes us kind of turn our head, maybe ask a little bit more about that, find out a little bit more about that. Because I think we do need to be the voice for vulnerable people.
We do need to be the voice for vulnerable people. Let's talk about something you are actively promoting right now to raise this awareness, and that's this event. Would you tell us a little bit about that, Marty?
Yeah, so on Saturday, April 9th, we're having a free event, which we're calling Break the Silence, Human Trafficking Awareness Workshops. This is our third year doing this kind of thing, and it's being held out at Chemeketa Community College, 10 to 3, and there will be lunch available if people want to purchase it. But we're having 3 speakers. One speaker from Shared Hope International, which is a rescue agency that's based out of Vancouver, Washington, and one speaker from the FBI Task Force on Trafficking, and then another speaker from the state. And then we'll have a panel. We'll also have a victim survivor that will be available also. And we'll be sharing a movie, a documentary film during our lunch break. And it's just all designed to help raise the awareness of our community, to let everyone know that it's out there, because we really feel like the more people that know about it, the more people that will try to help figure out ways that we can try to eliminate it.
Now, I don't know if people could quite read that on the television, so tell us again the date.
Saturday, April 9th, 10 to 3 at Chemeketa Community College, Yamhill Valley campus here in McMinnville.
Saturday, April 9th, from 10 to 3 at Chemeketa. And the cost is minimal.
It's free. It's free to anyone who wants to come. If they want to purchase lunch, they can. If not, they can, bring their own lunch or not eat or whatever they want, but otherwise it's totally free.
And lunch was $8 or something like that. You're asking for a pre-registration?
$9 or something like that. Yeah. We're asking for it online just so we know how many lunches to order, but yeah.
So we talked earlier about addressing supply and demand. So the supply is, you talked about throwaway children.
That's terrible, but yeah. Vulnerable children in the system care or who are living on the streets.
Okay.
Couch surfing.
Yes. So that is a way to address this rise of this crime. Demand. Now it's men, mostly. there's a huge demand. Evidently, it's growing. We talked earlier about it's fueled by such things as strip clubs, pornography. So how do we affect demand?
Well, I think a lot is through education and letting men know that, I guess, that using a prostitute isn't just fun and games for them, it's a life. And they, most of the time, that the guys don't realize that they're dealing with young children, really. These girls are getting into prostitution as children. And so I guess just trying to make men understand that it's not okay to buy the services of a child for sex. Just trying to retrain these men not to want to do that. And I mean, we're talking big picture down the road of people trying to do a better job of raising their kids in terms of with values and about women and the exploitation of women in general. So it's a really far-reaching thing that can't be fixed overnight, but in the short term, just hopefully having men become aware of the fact that, the strip clubs are there to usually be a front for the prostitution, and that a lot of these girls in the strip clubs are underage. They're like your teenage daughters and your grandchildren.
There's another side to reducing demand, and that's the consequences, the prosecution, the results, the
Accountability.
accountability. Thank you. In Oregon, we do have some pretty good laws around that using services of a prostitute underage, knowingly or not knowingly, it's still a crime. There's no excuse
Right.
for that. So that's something. There are other examples of how the legislature has tried to address this. So you, as Soroptimists, are approaching this by raising awareness. You want this is appropriate for young people to come to. Is that right?
I mean, the parents need to understand it's a subject that can be very hard to hear, and where there won't be anything graphic, in terms of detailed discussions about what is involved with prostitution. It's still there is content that the parents would have to understand might be not suitable for young children, but I would certainly say middle school age and high school age, if the parent feels comfortable with it, that they could certainly come to this.
Zavina, do you have anything to add about your contribution to this?
No, I think that ideally we're going to look at prevention, that we're going to teach young people how to be more confident and secure in themselves and what to look for. But I think that we want to get ahead of it here in McMinnville. If we feel like it's not really happening, I think we need to really get ahead of it.
Get ahead of it here in McMinnville. I like that.
Absolutely.
I like that. So again, let me say, Saturday,
April 9th,
April 9th, from 10 to
3.
10 to 3, it's free. Bring your friends. Let's become aware. Let's get ahead of this
Yes.
in McMinnville.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thanks for being here today
Thank you.
and bringing your expertise here to this table.